Hey everybody, welcome to the next chapter. My name is Brian, and my friends call me B9, so feel free to do the same. I want to make sure from the beginning that everybody's on the same page. I am not a doctor, a psychiatrist, counselor, or therapist, so I will not be giving any kind of medical advice. Also, for those of you that need one, I am not a lawyer, so there won't be any kind of legal advice being given either. But I am somebody who's been through a lot of shit. I've been to hell and back, and I know there's some of you watching right now who are probably experiencing that. And so I want to be able to hopefully use my experiences to help you get through yours and maybe give you some advice. And we're going to get it set up at some point where you can send messages or ask questions, emails, whatever. And, maybe you can pick my brain. And, there's going to be some people that are watching that might be able to help me with situations that I'm having. Um, and we'll work through that. And so we'll get that going. Um, Kind of a little bit of background on why I'm doing this. Some months ago, I got to take part in a podcast. That was the first time I ever did a podcast. Um, when we were done, the owner of the studio asked me if I had ever done it before, and I told him no. And he was surprised. He told me I was really good at it. And then recently, while on a short trip with my best friend and his family, he's like my brother, so I consider him a brother. So his wife, my sister-in-law, asked me when we were going to be doing another podcast, and it kind of shocked me that she had actually tuned into it. So she told me that she enjoyed it, and it kind of, sparked this idea. Some years ago, while I was with my ex-wife, we were talking, probably more of an argument than talking. And during this argument, the word narcissist popped into my head. And I'm one of those people where I have to have a complete understanding of something before I use it. So the opposite of her. But so I had a general idea of what a narcissist is, but never really looked into it or thought about it too much. So I Googled it. I wanted to make sure I completely understand this word. And as I read the description, I realized it was describing her to the T. I mean, everything that came up, I want to say it was either the Mayo Clinic or maybe it was Wikipedia. I don't know. We're talking 5 years ago. But everything that I was reading was literally her. And so during another conversation, I brought it up. Like, have you talked to your psychiatrist about being a narcissist? And she said, I'm not a narcissist, you're a narcissist. And so for the last 5 years, I've been called a narcissist. And anybody who knows what that means or has experienced narcissism, that is one of the things that they do. They deflect things and they repeat things. So that's what she's doing. She's been repeating it for years now. But in a separate conversation, I don't believe this one was an argument, but a separate conversation. I brought up that I should write a book, and the idea for the book was going to be called "My Own Recovery: Life with a Narcissist." And oddly enough, she was on board with the idea of me writing a book. She didn't like the little subtitle of Life with a Narcissist, but I didn't want to write a book and say my own recovery and make it sound like I was an addict, uh, which is what was brought up by either my sister or one of my friends in her text message tonight when I was working on the title. And I literally came down to the wire on what the title of the show was going to be. Um, so, no, I am not an addict. Um, Unless you look behind me, I am a beginning sneakerhead, so I am a little bit addicted to shoes, but that's about it. Um, so the purpose of me, or the reason why I wanted to write the book at the time, was because I felt like I had experiences that I wanted to share. So over the years, I've sat down in front of my laptop, I've sat down with pen and paper, and I've tried to start this book. And just writer's block instantly. Couldn't come up with anything to say. Didn't know how to start. Didn't know what to say. And then there was doubts like, okay, if I write this thing, will it get published? And what will that take? Is there other things that I can be doing with my time? Should I be focusing this energy on the kids? Um, so when my sister-in-law asked about that podcast, it kind of sparked this idea. Hey, maybe instead of doing this book, maybe I should just do a podcast because I talk. I've made a living talking. I've been in sales for a really long time. Um, and my oldest daughter is 14, and I kind of ran it by her like, hey, I kind of want to do a podcast. And she thought it was a great idea. And I'm very close with my sister, so I ran it by her, and she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. You should do that. Um, I have recently come to grips with the fact that mental health is important. Um, for me and you, some of you who are struggling right now, mental health is very important, so we need to take it seriously. So, um, one of my kids has been seeing a therapist, and I thought, well, I've done it in the past, tried to do some marriage counseling, and it was beneficial for me at the time, so I figured why not try it now when I've got what feels like the weight of the world on my shoulders with raising two kids of my own, and the everyday things like going to work and taking care of the house and pets and things like that. Like, I can take an hour to focus on me. And so one of the things that my counselor has been telling me is that I need to find something for myself, my own hobby, something that I'm doing that's about me and not about the kids or about my family or whatever. And so this is for me, but I'm hoping to help you, whoever you are that's watching right now. So this is going to be kind of a tool for me to kind of unwind and have some fun. Um, Another thing that I've been doing to kind of work with that is my daughter is really good with TikTok. She has a huge following. Um, she makes some interesting videos. She's also a sneakerhead. Um, so she got me into creating TikToks, and I started out with just, highlighting some of the new shoes I was getting, things like that. And um, now we've got a new account going where I'm basically lip syncing to different songs and highlighting the shoes in the songs, doing a little bit of acting, things like that. So if you get a chance, check us out on TikTok. It's Dizasta Kicks, Dizasta Kicks. So Dizasta Kicks on TikTok. Some of them are funny, some of them are just kind of goofy, but it's fun. But so this is a meant to be an outlet for me, and also, like I said, hopefully help some of you. So that's where we're going with that. And again, the idea of the next chapter is to not only look at the present, but to look at the past and the future and what that might hold for us. Um, I want this to be a long term thing. I hope to be able to do at least one episode a week. If I get comfortable enough and feel like I have enough to say, and maybe it'll be two. We'll see. And as I grow and we get to a point where we need more space, we'll look at that or whatever. But right now, this will work, and hopefully, you all will enjoy it, and we can take care of that. So, one of the things that I touched on was mental health. Guys, please take your mental health seriously. Take your children's mental health serious. Because divorce or separation or going from two parents to one parent, that can be a big struggle for them. Um, my oldest daughter has had a lot of mixed emotions about the divorce, the separation, um, her relationship with her mom. Where we're at right now is we're not in a good place right now, and I'll get into that at some point. But for today's show, we're just kind of getting into the beginnings of how we got here. My youngest daughter used to be attached at the hip to her mom, and now she's attached at the hip to me, and that's understandable. She's only 10 years old. She spent close to half her life with just me at this point. Um, so, kind of to give you a background on where we are or how we got here. My divorce has been final for a little over 4 years. The girls and I have been alone, just the three of us with our pets, for almost 5 years. In the beginning, it was tough trying to navigate school schedules with work schedule, getting them from point A to point B. And a big thing, if you're just becoming a single parent, is to make sure that you have a strong support system. Um, I'm lucky I've had that. My mom has been a big help. My sister has been a big help, and my brother-in-law has been a big help. They've all stepped up at different points to do different things. Um, Summertime right now, so they're getting a little bit of a break. More so my mom, because she has taken on the responsibility of picking my kids up from school every day, and they get out of school about an hour apart. So she sits in her van every day for about an hour from the time that my oldest daughter gets out of school until my youngest gets out. Um, my sister has become somebody that they can go to talk about things that they might not necessarily feel comfortable talking to me about, girl talk, things like that. She stepped up big time. She's always had a good relationship with them. You know, they love their TT, um, so that's cool. And then my brother-in-law steps in. You know, if I call him, hey, I'm stuck at work, and could you do this or can you do that? If he's not at work himself, he's there. You know, he tries to help out. And my friends have been a big support system for me. Like, you know, they joke about I talk about my ex too much, or today the young brother told me that I should call the podcast "I Might Talk About My Ex," and I got 2 votes, but I vetoed that. We're not gonna call it that. So, but yeah, they give me junk about that because like sometimes I need to vent, and these are the people that I'm closest to. So yeah, I'm gonna vent to them. So you need that, and you got to be able to, you know, have thick skin when you do that because you know if they're your boys, they're gonna bust your balls a little bit. So just deal with it. And that was a topic of a possible title too, busting balls. But have a strong support system. There's an old saying that it take a village to raise a kid, and right now, where I'm at and where you're at, or where you're heading, it's true. You need somebody there to have your back. Um, Another thing that we're going to talk a lot about is self awareness. I like to believe that I'm very self aware. I try to find my flaws. I look at my failures. What could I have done differently? What can I do better? What am I going to do to change it? Things like that. And I look at that professionally and personally. Um, and I'd say, as a single father, that's a huge deal because I'm not perfect. I think I'm a good dad. I've been told that I'm a good dad. My kids tell me that I'm a good dad. Uh, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes. So there's a lot of times where I have to go back and kind of think about, okay, maybe I could have worded that differently. And there's times where you have to be humble. Like, I come home sometimes and like the kitchen's a mess. Like my kids are into baking cakes now. My youngest, she likes to watch the cake baking shows on TikTok, not TikTok, but YouTube. And so because she did good in school, her prize for getting good grades was a little cake mixer. Not a big one, just a simple one, but I thought it was a good one for beginners. So they've been baking cakes this summer. Like right now, I've got a freezer with some cake pops in it, and I don't know when they plan on eating those, but we'll see. Because otherwise, they're just taking up space, and that doesn't work for me. But I'll come home and there'll be flour all over the counter, and like, you guys need to come down here and clean this up. And some days I can get annoyed by it because I feel like I've had to say it too many times. And I'll catch myself and I'm like, okay, I shouldn't raise my voice there. And, you know, they're not used to seeing me upset since their mom's been gone. Like, they're used to be fighting all the time, always arguing. But it's been so peaceful the last, 4.5, almost 5 years. So when I come home and they've done something to make me upset, that bothers them. It eats at them. They hate to think that I'm mad at them, and so sometimes I have to humble myself and I have to go and apologize. Like, hey, look, kid, yeah, I don't like that you made this mess, and yeah, you should have cleaned it up, but I shouldn't have responded to that the way that I did, and I'm sorry. And they understand that and they appreciate that, and so things like that are some of the things that we'll get into. Um, and with that, you got to learn to value your strengths too. You just heard me say that people tell me that I'm a good father, or my kids have told me, friends have told me. Um, and I think I mentioned that I think I'm a good father. Well, at the end of the day, I am a good father. I do everything that you possibly can in the situation that we're in. I go out of my way to make sure that my kids are happy. I try to be that silly dad. I think I mentioned the TikToks. Um, if my daughter wants me to jump in on one of her TikToks and do something silly, I don't mind doing that. I mean, we've all done it at some point. If we're a girl dad, we've all painted our toenails or something, or drank tea from an empty cup, or worn a tiara. Uh, so there's a TikTok out there with me being a beautiful cover girl. So I'm okay with that. But that's one of my strengths is that I am a good father. And I think when I mentioned being self-aware and facing your flaws, that's a strength too. If you're able to do that, if you're able to look at yourself and say, I'm messing up or I screwed up, that's a strength. That's something that you need to hold on to because that's a way to make yourself better. At the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that you're a better person so that you can help them to become the better person, or a better person rather. Um, for example, my goal for my girls, I'm a girl dad, two girls. I want them to grow up to be strong, beautiful, and intelligent women that can conquer the world. And I preach that to them. I had little signs made and the colors that they like, and they each have one a plaque hanging up in their room with that on there. And whenever they're down, I go up to them and I ask them, "What's the goal?" If they're crying about something, if their feelings got hurt, what's the goal? And they tell me, I don't know. And then I have to remind them the goal is to be a beautiful, intelligent, strong woman that can conquer the world. I think I messed that up there, but you get the point. Um, I also think it's important to set a good example for your kids. That's going to be a big topic. Um, One of the situations that we're in right now, my kids currently don't see their mom, and it's because of the example that she's setting. Uh, and so I have to go out of my way. I don't go out of my way. Probably shouldn't have said it that way, but I make it a point to make sure that I'm doing the types of things or acting the way that I expect them to act. I don't want to ask them to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So if I'm telling them, hey, you need to behave, then I should be behaving. And yeah, it's a different standard when you're talking about an adult versus a child, but in the grand scheme of things, it's the same thing. If I don't want them to grow up to go out and act crazy and do stupid things, then I have to set that example. I shouldn't be going out and acting stupid and doing crazy things, which I've been known to do. So they're at this point now where they absorb the things that I say and do. And they're both like me in different ways. Like my youngest daughter is like a clone of my personality. Like everything about me, I can see in her. And that shit's kind of scary. Like I don't want her to be like me. But there's good things to that too. You know, there's positives with that. And my oldest looks like my twin. Um, and she does not take shit from anybody. Uh, like she will let you know how she's feeling, and I want her to do that because I used to be one of those people that bottled up my feelings, and I would keep it bottled up until I got to the point where I would snap. And I did that with her mom. Like she would just nag and disrespect me and talk to me however she wanted to, and I would just sit there and take it. I would just sit there and take it. And then it finally got to a point where one day I just could not take it anymore. And I started giving it right back. You know, she's calling me a piece of shit. Okay, fine, you're a piece of shit too. Like, I didn't take it to the degree that she did, but I just wasn't going to be beat up on anymore. And one of the things that I've realized in the last 6 months, year, or whatever, is that I've been mentally abused for so long. One of my best friends, Steve, pointed it out to me a while back. He's like, I'm starting to see the old you. You're acting like yourself again. And like that one kind of hit me between the eyes like, oh shit, I really had changed. I'm not the same person that I used to be. And it's because so much of my energy was being drained from me from being manipulated and talked down to and disrespected. It takes a toll on you. And so I'm literally having to relearn who I am and get back to where I was. A couple of years ago, I was in a relationship that lasted about 6, 7 months, and it was a good relationship, but I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know who I was yet. And so all this attention that I was getting, I wasn't used to that. I'm used to being ignored. I'm used to being yelled at and cussed at. And all of a sudden, I got this great lady that is just sweet. And my kids loved her. And it freaked me the fuck out. So I ended the relationship. And there's more to it than that. It wasn't that simple, but when I look at it now, it was me. It was me inside my own head, and so I have to learn to handle that. And so that's kind of what I want to do with this is, build off of that awareness that I am not the same person. I have been battered and bruised. Um, you know, Verbal abuse is huge, and it was even worse for me because during the divorce, she started accusing me of being abusive. And now it's just, oh. You were verbally abusive. Well, you need to make up your mind. Either I was abusive or I was verbally abusive or I wasn't. Because I don't think that I was. And nobody else who was around us thought that I was. The kids didn't think I was. I mean, maybe towards the end there, when all the arguing was going on, I wasn't taking any more of her shit. Like I was dishing it back. Yeah, maybe. But you know what? If you pick a fight, you got to be able to defend yourself. So if you want to throw hands, be prepared to get somebody throwing hands back at you. So if you're gonna disrespect me and call me out of my name and talk back, then hey, be prepared for me to say what I got to say too. That's where that ended up. I'm running out of time here for this one, so we'll probably get into a little bit more of this on the next episode. But this kind of just set the grounds for where we're at and, like I said, where we're going. And we're going to talk a lot about the past. And hopefully, this gives you a good understanding and makes you want to watch the next episode. Um, I'm going to do my best. Bear with me as I get my footing, and hopefully, we'll have some fun with this. So, this is the next chapter, and I'm B9, and we'll.